Too, right? And we're happy that we got another full weekend of gorgeous fall foliage, because that, between the snow and the rain and the wind, that may be it for any trees that were hanging on to any leaves at this point. But what a temperature story. This is where we're seeing the snowfall forecast. Adirondacks, Green and White Mountains, where they're actually warmer than they were 24 hours ago. But look at the purples. 18 degrees colder for you in Pittsburgh than this time yesterday. So a sign of the times and really what's happening here. You have a very big dip in the jet stream, and you see the purple and the blue. That corresponds to where we're seeing the coldest, drier air, and it's getting all the way across the southeast, mid-Atlantic, hanging on, especially as we get into Sunday, even early in the week, into the northeast and New England. But look at the reaction to the temperatures. 53 Chicago, 56 in Indianapolis today, Watertown at 51, but for many places in the east, this is sort of the last mile day before you really start to feel that chill. Burlington at 50 tomorrow. Pittsburgh, you're staying into the 40s, and again, along with that, the wind that could be gusty, 30 plus miles per hour for sure in so many areas, and then 40s and 50s for highs on the map here on Sunday. By Monday, the core kind of settles in. We're still into the 40s in Buffalo, Boston down to the 50s into New York, but really, Alex, those morning low temperatures tomorrow morning in a lot of places, 30s and 40s, and that's moving. Those winds will be something that we'll be talking about for sure. Mount Washington in New Hampshire, that'll be one of those ops sites this weekend to check in on for some crazy wind gusts. But there'll be winds of change. As Dr. Postel was pointing out, we have temperatures into the 70s right now, where you see the orange. This is a look at the 24-hour temperature change. It's warmer here than 24 hours ago, and this is the exact place that we're calling for snow in a matter of a day or two. Meanwhile, behind it all, you have cities like Pittsburgh, a whopping 18 degrees colder than you were 24 hours ago. So that is a change. That is a shock to the system as this dip continues and pushes off to the east. That colder air just continuing to funnel down, and for many of us from parts of the mid-Atlantic into the northeast and New England, it is going to stick around for a few days. So today, Alpena 49, Cleveland into the 50s. And how happy are you about your Indians heading to the I almost said Super Bowl, to the World Series? Amazing. All right, we've got Pittsburgh into the 40s tomorrow, and then by Sunday, lots of 50s on the map too for highs. Buffalo, Burlington, Boston will be down into the 50s, and even on into Monday, hanging on to some of those readings. Now, I think the real shock for many of us will be getting out and about tomorrow morning, where you have, 30s for low temperatures. Any early morning soccer games or football games there, Alex, it's you definitely need to bundle up for sure. All right, some Big Ten family, and we do indeed have the forecast. For so many of us, the forecast will feel a lot more like football weather rather than preseason.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's been like summer in so many places.
Yeah, but a bit of a change as we take you to Evanston here, and there you have it, Indiana and Northwestern. Looks like it'll be dry.
Right.
But temperature-wise, much cooler than it has been.
Yeah, you have kickoff tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central Time, and so all the tailgate, it's going to be in the 40s. Yes. That is definitely chilly. But
all in all, should be a good game.
Yeah.
All right, let's take you to Annapolis. You got Navy and Memphis going at it here, and beautiful skies, good bit of sunshine, but Maria, the big story here is going to be those winds.
Incredible winds that will be throughout the game, at least in that 25 plus mile per hour range, and we could be looking at higher gusts than that. It is ushering in a nice welcome change, I think, for the region, kind of putting an end to some of that heat. So we'll feel good at times.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's take you to the big one here, Beaver Stadium, Buckeyes, Nittany Lions. I know how you feel about this one. But the weather, this is a situation here where, we've gone from some very warm conditions to, well, pretty wet today to chilly as we move into tomorrow.
I, of course, am rooting for my Nittany Lions, but I'm rooting for all the fans. Really seriously, be prepared. It is going to be a shock to the system, and because of all the flooding, just watch as you're driving around for some of those trouble spots.
Absolutely. All right, let's take you up to Chestnut Hill in Massachusetts. It's Boston College here, welcoming in Syracuse, and this is a situation where we're going to have a decent shot at rain for a good portion of the game, and we're in that 50-60% chance of rain plus wind as we work our way towards that second half of the game.
Absolutely.
Dr. Greg Postel.
All right, Alex, it seems like it's been rapid fire Western Pacific. We have some Eastern Pacific interest as well as the Atlantic.
Let's talk about this guy, Invest 99L, and it's an invest because the Hurricane Center thinks there's some chance of this thing to turn into a tropical cyclone, in other words, a tropical storm or something like that, as it moves generally on off toward the north. And that is sort of close to the U.S., so it bears watching. But Marie, you and I were looking at this. It really doesn't have much of a tropical characteristic to it.
Right. I mean, maybe it sort of smells like a duck. It definitely doesn't look like a duck. So we can't call it a duck.
Right. Perhaps the only impacts I think now might be some enhanced rip currents across parts of the southeast U.S., but really not much more than that. There is essentially an upper trough, an upper area of low pressure that's associated with this thing more than anything else. So I would contend that it's not really a tropical system at all and never really was. But there's some thunderstorms there, and it's going to be moving that way and team up with that upper low right up in here.
Which again, this time of year can always be really problematic because you get these massive cyclones, big wind producers. Whether or not this gets anything official, we think it is going to be part of that whole East Coast story.
That's a really good way to put it, because you're exactly right. Forget about what this becomes, because it's probably going to remain just a broad area of low pressure with some showers with it. But it's going to team up with that guy, as we mentioned earlier, coming in from the west. And by tonight and tomorrow morning, they will join forces and begin to brew, I would say, a pretty wind-making, heavy rain-producing, and even higher elevation snow-making machine out of this.
I mean, look at the lines.
Yeah.
They are tightly packed. Those are the isobars. The closer they are together, an indication of the strength of the wind. And they are northeasterly right here, pulling down that cold air.
And there will be just enough of that at elevations, I would say probably maybe 2,000 feet or so, maybe a little more than that, for some of the heavier snows right up in here. And that would be later on tomorrow evening and tomorrow night, I think. We're going to see some windy and snowy times of it in the Adirondacks in particular.
Isn't that amazing? And these are places that, you know, we're approaching those record highs. They're still in the 70s right now. You tweeted out in Vermont.
Indeed.
Amazing. All right, Dr. Postel, thank you. Alex?